Hey y'all, I'm Tyler, and this is Congress. Not this, but this. This is literally the halls of Congress in our Capitol building in the United States. Here, our legislators are hard at work, passing laws, funding programs, and of course, looking for UFOs. What more could you ask for? But we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Chances are you're more interested in high school congressional debate, and I'm going to break that down for you. Whether your coach forced you to go to a congressional debate tournament or you've decided to lock this in as your main event, I'm here to give you the rundown on what it is that we do. And let me be clear, there's going to be a lot of motions. Motion. So much motion. Look at all that motion. So much motion. Look at all that motion. No, motions with an S. Now, long story short, Congress is a high school debate event in which students role-play as lawmakers debating pieces of legislation, choosing to pass or fail them. Now, short story long, it's all of this. So, let me condense it. Okay, so there's rounds.
Yeah, of course.
Well, rounds can be 3 hours.
Huh?
Don't worry, you only have to speak for 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, good.
But you still have to sit quietly and listen to everyone else.
Ugh.
You can ask questions though.
Oh, that's nice.
But you only get 30 seconds to ask.
Darn, I knew there was a catch.
Your side could win, but that doesn't mean you're first.
Alright, just explain how this works.
Awesome, I thought you'd never ask. Congress is exactly what it sounds like. You're role-playing as a legislator. You'll either be a representative or a senator. If you're doing Congress for the first time, you'll probably start off as a representative and become a senator once you place a certain rank at a tournament or in a round. Honestly though, the distinction doesn't really matter, but it's important to keep in mind because that's how you'll refer to all your other competitors. They'll either be representative and then their last name, or senator and then their last name. Simple enough. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you'll be debating pieces of legislation. That means bills, resolutions, and amendments. The legislation that you debate will change every tournament, although similar ideas can be debated. For example, I could be debating a bill about reforming AI in the government, and then also go on to debate a bill about reforming AI in healthcare. Now, it's rare, but it can happen. Topics can range from energy policy to criminal justice to urban planning, even foreign policy, and I've even debated a legislation to fund research into memes. And of course I said yes. Now, if you're going to a local tournament, something that's probably about a drive away, you'll usually only have to debate 3 pieces of legislation. 1 legislation per round, 3 rounds, and each round is about an hour to an hour and a half. Nothing too bad. Now, things change and the game gets bigger when you move up to national level tournaments. Here, you can debate anywhere between 9 and 21 pieces of legislation. Each round, you'll debate 2 to 3 pieces of legislation, and they can last anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours. Yes, it is exhausting, and it's not for the faint of heart, but if you're like me and you just love discussing a variety of topics, then you probably found your place. So that's what you'll be walking into, and now for the important part, how to speak. Who speaks, where to speak, why do we speak? Each round, also known as chamber, will have 12 to 18 legislators. Those are your fellow competitors. Now, some legislators will want to pass the legislation while others will want to fail the legislation. The great thing about this event is that you get to choose what side you're on. If you want to go AF because you feel very strongly about the topic, great, go AF. And if you're more of a Debbie Downer who doesn't like to see things succeed, great, go neg. The choice is yours. The round will start with a first affirmative speech. This is also known as the sponsorship speech. Get it? Because they're sponsoring the legislation. After that, a speech will go on the negation, and then affirmation, negation, affirmation, negation. You get it. The cycle continues until everyone who wishes to speak has spoken. And trust me, you will hear that phrase a lot. Now, I like to think of congressional debate as sort of the battle royale of debate events. Yes, you're on the same side as some other people, but you want to prove that you're the best on your side. You'll be prepping with other people, but you as an individual are trying to compete for the #1 spot. So think of it like a presidential primary. You can all be in support of the same topic, but you'll all bring together a different argument, a different idea, and different speeches. Your goal is to be recognized as the best overall in the round. So how's the round ranked? Well, judges rank competitors from 1st all the way up to 9th. And if you're past 9, you just receive a 9 as well. But just because a legislation passed or failed, that doesn't mean the judge has to rate their #1 competitor as someone who was on the winning side. So let's say, for example, Timmy was on the negation of a legislation, but the affirmation ended up passing the bill. The judges can still give Timmy the 1 if they thought he had the best speech in the round. So, good job, Timmy. Again, the goal is to be the best speaker and debater overall. This isn't about being on the side that passes or fails, it's being your best self possible. Now let's talk about speeches. Speeches are 3 minutes long with a 10-second grace period. Not a lot of time, so you gotta make the most out of it. And if you are forced to go to that tournament, great, it's only 3 minutes. No sweat. Each speech is followed by a cross-examination period. For the first affirmative and first negation speech, that cross-examination period is 2 minutes long, with 4 questioners each getting 30 seconds. For everyone after that, it's only 1 minute long, with each questioner getting, again, 30 seconds, but there's only 2 of them. So 4 questions, and then 2. If you're still confused by that, here's a diagram. There's also going to be something called a presiding officer. Now, their whole job is kind of like the desk at a sports game. They get to call in speeches, call in questioners, time speeches, time questioners, start the round, stop the round. Their whole job is to make sure that everything is running smoothly and efficiently. They're also a competitor, so they can be ranked. More to come on POing in a later video. Now, how do you get called for speeches and questions? Well, you'll need a little something called a placard. It's just a little piece of paper with your last name on it. You'll raise it anytime you want to give a speech or ask a question, and the presiding officer will call on you. So how does the presiding officer know who to call on? Well, all presiding officers have to follow an order of no speeches, no questions, then precedence, and then recency. Essentially, they have to start off by giving priority to people who have given no speech and asked no questions, and then priority goes to whoever has the least amount of speeches and least amount of questions, and lastly, priority goes to whoever gave a speech or asked a question least recently. That's the order that all presiding officers have to follow. Now, obviously, at the beginning of the round, no one's asked or said anything. So what do they do instead? They go off of randomness. Yeah, it sounds a little bit because a presiding officer could randomly call on their friend to give the first speech. But that's just how it goes. At other tournaments, there is no randomness because presiding officers are given a preset recency chart. It's essentially a computer-generated list of all the competitors in the round, randomly mixed together with someone getting first priority, then second, then third, all the way up to last. So you could get some really bad luck and get selected as last, meaning you won't have priority above everyone else. But the good news is recency will reset between rounds. So if you were last one round, good news is you can be first the next round. Look for that silver line. Okay, so now that we know the format and what to expect, what am I missing?
What about motion?
Right, motions. Because this is Congress, every action you take has to be done with a motion. Whether you want to start the round, end the round, vote on a piece of legislation, pause the round, or just use the bathroom, you need a motion to do it. So here's a quick guide to all the motions that you will need. First and foremost, if you want to start the round, you say motion, presiding officer will call on you, and then you have to say, I move to. It's not proper grammar to say I motion to, say I move to. If you want to start the round, it's I move to open the round for debate. If you want to end the round, it's I move to adjourn. If you want to vote on a piece of legislation, it's I move to the previous question. If you want to have a recess, it's I move to a 30-second recess or a 5-minute recess. And if you want to use the bathroom, I argue that this is the most important motion you need. You have to say, I move to a point of personal privilege. The PO will state that, and you have to say, I move to a point of personal privilege to exit the chamber. They'll say, granted, you leave, you do your thing, then you come back and you motion back in saying, I move to re-enter the chamber. Is it extra? Yeah. I wish I could just say, I need to go number 1 or number 2. But that's how we do it here, so, I don't make the rules, I just follow them. And that's a quick breakdown on what congressional debate is. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content. Our next videos will go over what a presiding officer does and how to give a speech in a congressional debate round, so you definitely don't want to miss those. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching, and remember, if life ever gets tough, just reset and say ball up top. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Motion.
Will you go away?